Hidden in Radio. Chapter 2. A Melodious Duo. Alastor, where are we going? I asked. We had been walking for miles, and I was beginning to feel tired. I avoided calling him father, since he clearly did not see himself as such. I continued my songs until my voice ran dry. I had briefly glanced at my new body. It did not resemble my old one at all. My humanity was gone, and had been replaced with a demonic body which resembled a rabbit. I was skinny and tall, and I had long ears that were intertwined with my own hair, much like Alastor's. I had dark brown hair, and my skin color was a mix of white and light brown. I was also covered in fur. Curious, truly a strange thing to be instead of a deer like Alastor. But it had to do with my soul and the types of things I had done in my past life. In a few mere moments, my question was answered. Before me there stood a tall building. It was mostly red and black. It towered over most buildings and seemed to stand out from the rest. There was a sign near the top of it which read, Has-Been Hotel. What in hell's unholy name was a Has-Been Hotel? What did that even mean? What is this place? I asked curiously. I was glad when I realized that Alastor did not intend to enter the building just yet. I wanted to get a better look at it. Alastor's eyes met mine as he flashed his famous smile. Oh, this? He repeated. This is just my little project I've been working on. My dear, welcome to the Has-Been Hotel, a place of restoration founded by Lucifer's daughter, Princess Charlotte Morningstar. Wait a minute. Did he say Lucifer? As in Satan himself? The one who created this place for sinners and demons and such? Lucifer? I repeated in utter shock. You mean the King of Hell himself, the Princess of Hell, did all of this? But why? I hadn't expected this. I barely arrived in Hell not too long ago, and I was already going to meet the Princess of Hell. I was no expert, but meeting demon royalty didn't seem like the type of thing to happen too often. Only specific people could meet her. I was sure of it. It was no wonder that Alastor had met her before. After all, he was an extremely powerful demon. Why, yes, Alastor responded, putting his hands on my shoulders. Charlie thinks she has the ability to rehabilitate sinners and demons alike through her little hotel ordeal. But fear not, my delightful delinquent. As long as you are with me, you will never have to worry about being sent all the way up to heaven with the other nasty angels and terrible creatures up there. Now, why don't we go in and I can show you around? I nodded and allowed him to lead me inside. I wondered if there would be others inside. Hell, it might even be filled to the brim with sinners and demons hoping to be saved. I had forgotten what it was like to interact with other people. As we stepped inside, I prepared myself for what I was about to see. The first thing I noticed was the two vases with snakes around them. It symbolized Lucifer and what had happened to create hell. I could still remember the story of how Adam and Eve had been tempted to eat the forbidden fruit, and how it had brought sin into existence. Looking around, the place was actually really nice. I was disappointed that I hadn't landed in this hotel when I first got to Hell. Alastor, you're back. A girl with blonde hair tied twice in a long ponytail ran over to us. She wore a red tuxedo and had red eyes. She had this aura about her which seemed much more empathetic than most demons I had seen here in Hell. She wore a bright smile and spoke with confidence and pure joy. Oh my gosh, she said, taking notice of me for the first time since I walked in. You brought in another sinner for the hotel? For me? Aw, who's this little cutie? She poked my cheek playfully. Wow, I was surprised to see this kind of behavior coming from a demon. I mean, this was hell. Weren't demons supposed to be a lot more bloodthirsty and vengeful than this? Alastor laughed and plucked the girl's hand off me. No, my dear, he told her, attempting to explain. This is my daughter, adopted and owned by yours truly. I smiled and nodded, even though I felt like a total outsider. The way he said it was weird, too. I wanted it to feel much more comfortable. But now I just felt like the black sheep of the family, so to speak. Daughter? 4 new voices piped up in repeating the word Alastor had used to describe me. Everyone had come over to join Alastor and I where we were standing. One of them was a tall white demon with 2 sets of arms. He looked like a spider and had more sets of eyes beneath the pair already on his face. Another was a cyclops demon who looked much more on the unhinged side. She seemed to fit the stereotype of hell much more than anyone else in the room. The third one was a girl with long, pale hair with a pink bow tie tied to the back of it. She looked dangerous, and yet much more sane than the Cyclops demon. She pointed her spear at me, as if she expected me to do something unpredictable and murderous. And the fourth one was a cat demon with wings. His colors were black and red, and he looked like a walking card game. He looked bored as hell and just absolutely ready to keel over double dead. He looked like he didn't give a shit at all, which I loved. "Sexy little thing, ain't ya?" the spider demon commented, giving me a flirty look. I was once again reminded of my life up on Earth before I died. I would get men like that all the time. However, the secret was that I would actually give them what they wanted and entertain them to avoid getting into fights with them. Men were unpredictable when rejected, and that was just a fact. The spider demon turned my face toward his and continued to smile at me. "You doing anything with your sugar cakes?" he asked. I backed up a little and was relieved when Alastor spoke up. "Alastor, allow me to introduce you to the Princess of Hell herself, Charlotte Morningstar," he said. It's Charlie," the princess said and smiled at me. "It's so great to have a member of the hotel. You are going to love it here. I just know it." But Alastor grabbed me away from Charlie's grasp and pulled me toward him again. I was grateful and felt a bit dazed. This honestly was a lot to take in, and I wasn't quite sure I understood what was happening here. "Hands off, if you please," Alastor warned her. "Alastor is only here because she needs a place to stay while she's under my control. Since I'm helping out here at the hotel, I figured she could help as well. Charlie, would you mind showing her to her new room?" Wait, he had already planned out which room I was going to stay in? Damn it, he was fast. I hoped it wouldn't be too high up. I was not a fan of heights. I didn't want to have a window view if that happened either. I was afraid to touch anything in case it fell. Charlie seemed a bit disappointed upon hearing that I wasn't here to stay at the hotel for redemption, but nodded. "Right, of course," she said. "This way, please." She led the way, and I followed her up a flight of stairs, with Alastor following close behind us. He seemed to respect the princess's leadership while being careful that I was not going to be influenced by her childish dreams. Charlie seems like a very nice girl compared to the other demons in hell, and I was not opposed to conversing and spending time with her. As a matter of fact, it was lovely to meet her. We made our way down a long corridor, and Charlie turned to open one of the main doors there. The one to my new room was on the left side, with a sign that said, "Room 446. So this bitch had organized everything by herself. Damn, that was some dedication. I couldn't recall the last time I had been so focused on something. Perhaps in one of my buried memories when I was human, held a long time, not so long ago, when I was motivated to get shit done and to accomplish great things. This young lady was a visionary. "Welcome to your new room," Charlie announced happily. "Please enjoy your stay. If you need anything, don't be afraid to ask." I smiled once again, surprised by how kind-hearted she was. I took a quick look around. Everything was perfectly in place. The bed was made, and the windows were surprisingly clean. I turned to Charlie. "Thank you so much." Charlie smiled back at me. It was clear in her expressions that she was very passionate about her goals in this hotel. On the way, Alastor had told me how he came to meet Charlie. Not too long ago, he had seen her interview with one of the TV stations here in Hell with someone by the name of Katie Killjoy. Somehow it had intrigued him, and he came here to help with the hotel. "Well, everything seems to be in order, so you can leave Australia to me," Alastor told her, giving Charlie a serious look as if to warn her not to press me any further. "Why don't you go back with your friends downstairs and do some planning for the hotel's next campaign?" He patted her head and began to push her out the door. It seemed to me like he wanted to have a private chat with me about this whole thing. I felt that he did not want me to be involved with the princess and her hotel deal. As his new assistant of sorts, I was not allowed to participate in such things. I was working for him now, after all. "Oh, right, I'll do that. You two have fun now." Charlie hurried out the door without shutting it. Behind her seemed to tick off Alastor even more. He quickly shut the door and turned to face me. "What was that about?" I asked curiously. "My dear, you mustn't frolic with the joyous," Alastor warned me. "It goes against everything that I am. And if you spend too much time there with the princess, you could end up believing it one day. which means you may very well stop believing in my cause and reason to be here. Now we wouldn't want that, would we? Alastor's form began to change and static radio sounds started emitting from him. With his smile, it was often hard to tell what he was feeling, but it was becoming clear to me that he did not wish for me to spend too much time with Charlie. He truly did care about me taking his side of things. Suddenly, I felt happier. That meant he did care for me, and there was still hope of him feeling connected to his role as my father. Of course, I told him with a smile, which brought the color back into his face. Good girl, Alastor said, patting my head once more. Now come along, my dear. Time to meet the others. I was a bit surprised at his mention of meeting the other residents. After all, what would he say about me talking to them as well? Perhaps it was only Charlie whom he wanted to avoid speaking with. That must be it. The others were not a threat because of their greater sins and bloodlust. I decided to take the opportunity to really get to know everyone better. After all, Alastor's daughter, what kind of impression might I risk leaving if I did not go down and introduce myself properly? So I put on my best smile and followed Alastor. But come to think of it, why did Alastor smile so much? Perhaps it was part of his persona, but it was not tiring. Was it not tiring to leave it on all the time? I wondered if he was forced to do that. If so, I felt sorry for him. It must be a pain in the ass trying to maintain that god-awful beautiful smile of his. On the other hand, I had much more important things to worry about. No doubt Alastor would expect me to play my part, and that included acting not so friendly amongst the staff and the residents staying at the hotel. I took a deep breath and tried to focus. Don't worry, Dad. I won't disappoint you.